The Flint Animal Cancer Center and the CU Cancer Center have been partners for 20 years. And we've had a number of different projects through the years that have really demonstrated that strength and that bridging across institutions, to the extent that I really believe that we are Colorado's cancer center, not just the University of Colorado or Colorado State.
And the main goals of both centers is to understand the biology of cancer, come up with new treatments, get these treatments to clinical trials, get them FDA approved and out for use in both humans and animals. So more recently, we've actually started a collaborative program where both the Flint Animal Cancer Center and the CU Cancer Center co-fund pilot projects that involve principal investigators from both campuses.
This project arose out of kind of a more exciting recent development or technique that they've been using in human cancers. And in this technique, they can basically eliminate one gene at a time in a cell and determine what impact the elimination of that one gene has.
So Dr. Duvall brings an expertise in canine cancer. My lab brings an expertise in bioinformatics and analysis of data. And Dr. Joshi's lab brings in expertise in developing the actual tools that we're going to be applying to the canine cells.
So Dr. Duvall's project is focused on studying canine osteosarcoma, understanding what genes are essential and what contribute to the long-term and the short-term survival of our four-legged friends. And the way we are proposing to do this is by using a genome-wide CRISPR library. And my lab was the one who designed and created this CRISPR library. And to the best of our knowledge, I think we are the first in the world to make such a library.
It's important because we want to understand a genetic relationship between cancer development and response to therapeutics. And if we can understand that, we could then basically design drugs towards those targets to then potentially help treat our companion animal friends and eventually translate a lot of that research into humans.
And so my hope is that by going through and really teasing apart the code that drives these cancers, that we'll be able to identify therapies that are far more effective.
We bring in expertise in kind of genomics and functional genomics and sequencing and all of the stuff, all of the nice resources we have here. And the Flint Animal Cancer Center brings an expertise in the biology of our canine companions. And being able to combine those two provides a really unique resource for the world, for everybody who's interested in studying cancer, both in humans and in dogs.
In our clinic, we treat dogs with sinonasal carcinoma very routinely, but it's a more rare tumor type in the human head and neck cancer population. So what we're doing together with Dr. Karam at CU is trying to investigate and establish canine sinonasal carcinoma as a model for the human form of the disease. Both are treated with radiation therapy. Both unfortunately tend to recur following treatment, so definitely room for improvement. She's also interested in radiation and immunotherapy combinations, so Dr. Dow and I are really excited to work with her, kind of bringing immunotherapy and radiation combinations to improve sinonasal carcinoma for both species.
So Dr. Boss brings radiation expertise and we bring the immune expertise. And then we also reach out to collaborators like Dr. Karam to make it relevant translationally to people.
Kira and I, and as well as Steve, we've had this collaboration going on for many years. It's a beautiful collision of ideas and came up with this project to kind of do this comparative analysis of how they're similar and different. And it's just really beautiful to see how different they treat it. And I learn a lot from talking to Kira in particular in terms of how she applies the radiation, what dosing, what fractionation.
Our project involves a comparative analysis of archive samples, both canine and human, and then we are also starting a trial investigating dogs with sinonasal carcinoma, with the goal ultimately of translating our results from what we're finding in dogs into a clinical trial for people.
To be able to use a model that recapitulates the natural history of how this disease initiates and progresses that stands to benefit both the dog patients and the human patients is just an outstanding opportunity to be able to move the needle.
Dan LaBarbera is a medicinal chemist, and what that means is that he designs and does the chemistry to develop new drugs. My expertise is really looking at how these drugs get into the body, how long they're there, are they toxic to normal tissues, and how well they work against tumor cells.
I would say complementary expertise that will allow us to move these lead drugs through the drug development pipeline rapidly.
You know, now we have the opportunity to work with compounds that nobody else in the world has. He patented to targets that nobody else can target. And that allows us to do some very unique science.
My hope for the future is that we can rapidly translate these novel therapies that we're working on towards the clinic. And so this is just a very exciting time right now.
The ability to be collaborators, to be friends, to be people that think about science the same but differently, but have a shared vision about what we want to accomplish. Man, it makes science better. It makes life better, and it makes both of us better scientists. You know, you just have the ability to interact at a level that wouldn't exist without partnership of the Cancer Center.
When I was diagnosed with cancer, Grubby was my heart dog. She'd been there through the birth of our girls. She just was a very integral part of our life. So I told her, I was like, you have to survive with me through this. So I was like, I can let you go a different time, but it is not this time.
And then they just take care of you. And he did.
There are services, already for cancer patients and survivors, for support for spouses, support for children, but nothing that we know of for companion animals.
So this is a lovely partnership between School of Social Work and the veterinary school here at CSU with the Cancer Center at Colorado University at the Anschutz.
And they had an idea about supporting breast cancer survivors and their companion animals. And they needed someone who did breast cancer research because they hadn't done that before. And so they contacted me. So we did a survey amongst breast cancer survivors, and we asked them what their pets mean to them and how their pets support them, but any concerns that they have about their pets, concerns about their long-term care.
Basically talking about like, hey, think about your pet's needs in advance. Like if you're not gonna have the energy to take your dog for a walk or scoop your cat's litter or whatever, make sure that those are put in place so it's not a source of worry.
So we're building kind of like a whole Google pet services for women going through cancer treatment to make life easier so they're not having to think about all these different layers of needs that they have to fill, so that when they're home with their pet, they can just have that time to snuggle and build up things that we see that support quality of life.
One of our roles in the Cancer Center is to really serve as a catalyst. We have the right ingredients both at CSU and at the University of Colorado. We have great research at both institutions. What we really want to do is try to bring those together to make something that's greater than the sum of the parts. It really takes a meeting of many minds and many different disciplines to achieve something special.